Welcome to the Well Path podcast, where we sit down with experts and entrepreneurs across fitness, nutrition, mindfulness, and spirituality, offering you an inside peek at building a business and a life that is truly aligned. I'm your host, Brooke Robbins. Let's get into it. Nora, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So excited to have you on. There's so much I want to get into today. One thing that's similar about us is we both lived in New York City in our 20s. I would love to sort of start there. You started your career as a dancer in New York. Can you just take us there and sort of paint the scene? What was that like and how did you kind of get into that?
Sure. So I grew up as a dancer. I started pretty competitively dancing around age 9. And then I went to university for dance. And then right from graduating from university, I moved to New York City. And I moved to New York training with various dance companies, auditioning, doing like the starving artist thing. And then I actually started working for Lululemon as one of their educators in Union Square.
Okay.
And at that time, they offered us to take as many classes as we wanted, and they would reimburse us for it. So I was trying out all the fitness classes, all of the boutique studios. It was right at the height of like boutique fitness in New York.
Wow.
So from there, I started taking Physique 57 and I fell in love with it. And then they were looking for instructors and I auditioned and I got the job.
Oh my gosh, that is like a dream role, I feel like.
Yeah, at Lululemon,
Yes.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was a bunch of other dancers around the same age as me, and we just did yoga and spin and bar all day long. Got our gear.
That's incredible. Was this like the age of SoulCycle and stuff cropping up?
Yeah, SoulCycle was launching, Flywheel, Berries.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a really exciting time for fitness in New York. And Physique at the time was all dancers that were auditioning and performing, and then we were able to teach on our like off times. So it was perfect.
And for anyone who might be listening that isn't familiar, like what is Physique 57? What kind of style workout is it? What sort of differentiates it?
So Physique 57 is one of the first bar methods. It was created in New York about 15 years ago, if not a little bit more. And yeah, it's, I think, one of the more challenging, more athletic bar styles. And from there, I really set like a good foundation for my bar training and my bar experience.
And were most people that were teaching bar like had some sort of a dance background?
I think at that time, everyone was a dancer.
Cool.
So a lot of bar has similar technique and posture and choreographing the class and the musicality kind of goes hand in hand with dance.
Okay. And what sort of inspired you to make the shift full-time out of dance and into fitness?
So I was teaching and still dancing for a few years in New York. And then Physique decided to launch their first international studio in Dubai.
Wow. So this was their first international studio?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then a few of us applied and I got the position. So that was when I had to kind of decide, do I want to stay in New York and keep the dance thing going or transition more full-time to bar? And with Physique, I was also starting to do some management. So I saw some of the back end as well. And especially in New York, I mean, I'm sure you know, the art scene is super competitive.
Yes.
So, I was kind of trudging along, but I hadn't really had like my big break. And I actually found a similar level of passion with fitness that I had with dance. So like the physicality, the athleticism, I felt really fulfilled with fitness. So it wasn't really that upsetting for me to make the full switch over to fitness.
Okay, that's beautiful. It's pretty organic. And like, what year was that you moved over to Dubai?
2013.
Okay. So what was Dubai? So I came to Dubai for the first time in 2019. In 2013, like what was it like? Was it a huge sort of shift for you coming from New York to Dubai, or was it kind of similar? Like how did you feel about making the move so far?
I loved New York. I had an amazing time. I had so many good friends. I think what helped me was that I moved over with a few friends.
Oh.
So we were a team of 3 instructors.
Nice.
We were close. So I already kind of had a few friends here. And at that time, Dubai wasn't as it is now, but it definitely was up and coming. There was a lot going on. I was living in JBR, close to the beach. So that was really nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen Dubai change for sure over the past 11 years. But when I moved here, there was still a lot to do. There was a lot of buzz happening.
Okay. It's super interesting. Also speaking to somebody who moved like from New York to Dubai, because I feel like even for me, and Dubai obviously now is like, I mean, it is very like on par with New York in terms of what it has to offer as a city. But it was like a huge decision. I remember consulting like so many different people in my life about coming out here, just because, it's like it's far and it's kind of this foreign concept. And when you haven't been there before, had you visited Dubai before you moved?
I had been here once on holiday.
Nice.
So I had been and knew that it was fun and had so many opportunities.
Nice.
I think also maybe, I'm not sure how old you are, but it was 11 years ago for me. So I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like as many responsibilities, as many inhibitions. I was excited for an adventure.
Yeah.
It honestly wasn't a huge shift for me.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I really came here open-minded and I didn't know if I was going to be here for 1 year or 10 years. I didn't give myself some sort of time limit. So.
Okay. So you didn't really have an expectation either way as to whether you'd stay for a while or?
I had a 1-year contract.
Okay.
And then I actually met my husband towards the end of that 1-year contract. Wow. And I asked him if I should stay or not.
Oh my gosh.
And he said yes.
Wow.
And then he proposed. And
wow.
So now I've been here 10 more years.
That's amazing. Where did you guys meet?
So through a client at Physique.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I was training her ahead of her wedding. And then she put us on a blind date.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's a crazy story.
You never know.
I'm obsessed. That's amazing.
And now we have 3 kids.
Wow.
And I'm here to stay.
Oh my gosh. So you guys are happy here. Is he from here?
He's Lebanese.
Okay. But has been in Dubai as well for a while.
Yeah. He's been here 23 years, I think.
Amazing.
So long time.
That's so exciting. Okay. So circling back. So you came in with Physique 57.
Yes.
What inspired you to start your own studio? And for anybody that might not know, maybe we can actually just transition and talk a little bit about Barre Effect and sort of what it is. But I'd love to get into the journey of like starting your own thing and kind of becoming an entrepreneur in your own right. Yeah.
So I launched Barre Effect 3.5 years ago. I was with Physique for 2 years, and then I worked at various studios in Dubai. Okay, cool. I feel like I gained a lot of experience as to what worked, what didn't work, and to instruct for different studios and just kind of see how people were running things. And then I've been asked for years if I was going to launch my own studio. And I always said no because I knew it would be a lot of work. Mm-hmm. So I was just very realistic about it. And then when COVID hit, a lot of studios unfortunately were closing or things were shifting to online, I think around the world for studios. So a lot of studios in Dubai were shutting down. And I had a lot of friends teaching at various studios that were losing their jobs. So at this point, I saw it as an opportunity. I had enough experience within the fitness scene in Dubai. I had a whole group of friends that were strong barre instructors. I saw it as my opportunity to launch my own studio.
Wow. And were you exclusively teaching barre, or were you also teaching in different sort of modalities here?
So I also taught spin at Flywheel.
Nice.
I've taught the Reform method at Reform Athletica.
Okay, cool.
So, and then back in New York, I was also teaching a Megaformer class.
Oh, nice.
I practiced yoga weekly for 15 years.
Wow.
So, I love boutique fitness. Yeah. I always have.
Oh, same. Where do you practice yoga here?
At Samadhi.
That's my favorite. Who's your teacher?
It's really nice. I kind of jump around. I love Vanessa's class.
Okay, cool.
I love Amanda's class.
Amazing.
So.
Yeah. I love Amelia's class. I haven't taken everybody's class, but I love Samadhi as well.
Yeah.
They're also relatively new as a studio, if I recall.
Yeah, I think it's been about a year.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, and Dubai, like the boutique fitness scene is just incredible. Okay, so you launched Barre Effect about 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3.5 years ago.
You said, what was the hardest thing that you experienced kind of getting the studio off the ground?
Yeah, so I started thinking about it in July. And then by the time I got, the license and I found a location, it was about September.
Okay.
My goal was to launch in January. So I had to work pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think the most challenging thing was that it was COVID. We had a lot of regulations. For example, when I was first starting to launch, there was supposed to be a 2-meter gap between each client. So I designed the studio so that it's very long, so I could fit so many clients in the room.
Okay.
And then the night before I was supposed to launch, the regulation came out. It had to be 3 meters. So I had a whole week of complimentary soft launch classes fully booked. And then I actually had to cut it down by, I think, 4 clients per class.
Wow.
So it's just calling and shifting. So I think it was that added element of just trying to keep everyone safe and to follow all the guidelines and regulations.
Yeah.
The studio was designed to be touch-free. So you can get into the restrooms, into the classroom without actually touching anything. Even our water filter system is contactless.
Okay.
So just these small details that I had to think about. But at the same time, when we launched, we could only have 8 clients in class. And then by the end of our first year, we were able to have 20.
Okay.
So it actually worked in my favor in the sense of it allowed me kind of that time and room to grow.
Yeah.
We started small, and then as like word was getting out, we were able to expand the classes.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's incredible. And like when it comes to like Barre Effect specifically, do you have sort of your own like, I guess like training or protocol that you put instructors through that make it like Barre Effect versus like another kind of bar class, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I train any instructors that I'm hiring. So we call it like an in-house training. A lot of the applicants already have a background, and some of them even have done some sort of bar training. But I just spend time to kind of break things down and go through the method, how I've found it to be the most efficient and the most effective. And then also just different teaching styles and different kind of pointers that I've learned across the way just to help them. Training usually lasts about 6 weeks. Kind of depends on where the instructor is with their teaching.
Okay.
But the great thing with Barre Effect, we're a team of 11 girls. And everyone has different energy, different style. So I still appreciate and honor that for sure. But I just want to make sure that we all kind of have like a similar baseline for the teaching.
Yeah, so people kind of know what to expect in a class. So I've been to a couple Barre Effect classes. They're so hard. Like they're so hard. And I'd love to talk a little bit about just like the workout itself, because I feel like honestly with any kind of Pilates modality, and I think bar as well, like some people that might not have tried it might look at it and be like, oh, that like looks pretty light. Can you talk a little bit about like the workout and sort of what you sort of see that differentiates it from other kinds of exercise, or just talk a little bit about, I guess just bar in general as an exercise?
So bar is a low impact strength training method, and we tie together elements of dance, Pilates, and yoga. So it's a pretty broad subject. I've taken various bar classes, and it can be from one end of the spectrum to the other, kind of like yoga. So you never really know what you're going to get. But what I've found to be the most effective are bar classes that are more athletic and continuous. So all of our classes are mixed level. So I want to make sure that it's, of course, safe and effective and achievable for someone that's new. But at the same time, in the room, there could be someone that comes every day or is a bit stronger. So this is where the expertise of the instructor is really important, to be able to kind of cater to all of these levels. But I see it as make the class safe and effective, but still very challenging, and something for someone that's a bit more beginner to kind of work towards. So we give a lot of options to make things either more challenging or to kind of modify things. Okay. All of our classes, we don't stop moving. So it's 45 minutes nonstop work, and then we stretch towards the end. So another important element at Barre Effect is the transitions. So how do we continue moving from one muscle group to the next without stopping or taking breaks?
So like minimal amounts of rest.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think back to classes that I took. I think I remember that, and it's kind of what makes you feel like you're getting a cardio workout, even though it's like not explicitly cardio, right? You're not like on a run or something, but you definitely work up a sweat. Yeah,
I see it as, you know, when I first started bar in New York, it's the, cliche woman that only has this 1 hour in her day. She's rushing in, she's rushing out. So I feel like we have to really jam pack in those 45 minutes as much as we can. So not only are you doing your strength training, but you're also getting your cardio because we're moving nonstop. You get your heart rate up. And then at the end, we get to lengthen and lean out the muscles.
Yeah.
But I don't want anyone to feel like they should have to take another class or do another workout. I want them to come in and really feel like they got the most out of their time.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a I think that's something that Fiona and I talk about a lot is and this is kind of our motivation is there's nothing worse than going to a workout class and then feeling like you wasted your time, or you walk out and you're like, okay, I still need to work out now.
For sure.
And I think that's especially true to here. I wonder, having sort of started teaching in New York and then coming to Dubai, were there any kind of cultural differences or differences in terms of what kinds of workouts clients tend to like, or in terms of even how the studio is set up that you had to take into consideration when you came here?
I was teaching all different levels in New York. I found that when I first started teaching here, clients were not as familiar with barre. So I had to really break things down. But still to this day, I think you always get someone that's newer, more beginner.
Yeah.
But I feel that at the studio now, most women that walk through the door have done yoga or Pilates. There's some sort of baseline.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, I had to really break things down. But culturally, it works. Barre Effect is ladies only. And that was a choice I made. But cultural or not, I think it's a really nice environment and safe space for women to just go and not have to feel any pressures or feel insecure about anything and just be there with like-minded women.
Yeah.
But it's been really interesting for me to see women that have maybe never worked out before, it wasn't part of their culture or their background, and then really fall in love with barre and exercise. It's really rewarding.
Yeah, there is something, I agree with you, that I feel like now I've lived here for about 3.5 years, and just having so many more spaces that are women's only is it's just so nice. Like you're saying, regardless of whatever culture background you come from, but there's something just nice about being surrounded by other women and feeling like you can totally just relax and unwind, and you don't have to think about someone, I don't know, coming and saying something to you or looking at you in a certain way. And there's something just so beautiful about that. Was that something was that an easy decision for you to make?
It was. I feel that barre in general tends to be more women or female focused. It's definitely effective. I feel like a lot of men need to incorporate more Pilates or barre into their workout.
Yeah.
But even in New York, we would have, the occasional 1 or 2 guys in class.
Yeah.
So it definitely wasn't worth me opening up the studio totally for men.
Right.
We do have what we call boys, bring your boy to the bar.
Oh, really?
Which is once a month.
That's fun.
That's super fun.
That's so fun.
Our clients bring their partners. Some clients even bring their older sons, which is really nice.
That's
and
so
then
fun.
It's fun just to kind of show them what we're all about.
I didn't know that you guys did that. Have you gotten some feedback from the guys?
They love
struggle?
it.
Do they struggle?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I love that.
They totally struggle. But we make it really fun, of course.
Yeah.
And we've actually had some reoccurring guys come every month. They really look forward to it.
They're waiting for it. They're please open this up.
Yeah, they're into it. So that's
so
cool.
funny. I see on TikTok now all these funny reels of guys on reformers and kind of it's
tough.
Just so funny. It is so tough. I really want to hone that in. I feel like you really don't know until you try it, because it is true when you look at it, it's not always apparent, but it's all these little muscles, right, that you don't even necessarily usually use, and
specific. It's technique. A lot of these other classes focus more on these huge movements and these huge muscle groups. But when you really take the time and focus and break things down, it's really challenging.
Yeah, I'm curious too. So you have sort of seen the Dubai fitness scene also. I imagine it's also grown over the last 10 years, because I feel like now, again, it's very on par with in New York, with in LA. I feel like there's just an amazing diversity of, studios, types of workouts and things. Can you share a little bit about what it's been like to sort of watch that grow too, or where was it sort of when you started, and how has it kind of evolved here?
It's been really exciting. So when I first came here, Physique was here, Flywheel was here, but that was about it. So to see all these other brands from the US, from London, also start to pop up is cool. I feel like Dubai is really starting to establish itself on the international scene. It's also been nice to see the homegrown studios like Barre Effect. I think that initially the clients of Dubai wanted these kind of big names that they were familiar with.
Yeah.
But now people have a bit more trust in the homegrown brands.
Yeah.
So, and to support local has been really cool. And I feel like I try to partner also with other homegrown brands and smaller companies, just because you can be even more niche and really cater to your clientele versus doing a franchise and having like to kind of oversee what people in the US or another country might not actually understand about Dubai.
Yeah, that's the thing that's so interesting, I guess, about like bringing something like fitness kind of across borders, because it is so nuanced. And I feel like even though it's similar, like even for me, right? You know, you can notice differences, like even just the fact of like having ladies only classes and the way that the studios are sort of set up, like there's kind of a cultural nuance to it. So I was curious about that. So I agree. There's definitely a lot of studios that I've noticed the same, where they're sort of like international brands that kind of come to Dubai. Would you ever consider expanding out internationally from Dubai, or what's sort of your vision for Barre Effect in the future?
Sure. I've considered it. I've been approached a few times. I haven't really taken the leap because I feel that what we have at Barre Effect is really special. It's really nice to just keep something more small, more boutique. I think one of the most valuable things that I have are my instructors and my team. So it's easy to franchise out, you know, the look and feel of the studio, the props, but to actually get the expertise and the quality of instruction isn't as easy. And so I don't just want to expand and have just anyone teaching.
Yeah.
I also have 3 young kids. So I just feel really grateful that I'm able to kind of have the balance of my passion with this studio and then also have the time for my family.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm just pretty happy with how things are.
I love that. I love that. And I think, just the concept of sort of like balance and alignment in all things and really like structuring your life. I think that's a big one. When I talk to people that are building businesses in wellness, I feel like this is such an important topic, because entrepreneurship, there's different flavors of it, right? There's different ways that you can sort of take things. And I don't know, I like also kind of grew up, you could say, in the startup world in New York, which tends to, I would say, trend towards like intense hustle culture, like very much. I remember, and I'm so grateful this is changing, I feel like, in at least like my generation now. But when I was just starting out, you know, after college and my first job, I feel like there was this glorification of like not getting any sleep. That was like a big thing. Like people would love to brag about like, oh, I got like 2 hours of sleep last night, or I pulled an all-nighter on this, or, you know, it's almost like proof that you're like good because you're working hard or something like that. And it's so like contrary to everything that's like really genuinely like wellness, right? And so I always think it's really interesting to talk about with people that are building businesses kind of in the wellness space, how you manage to balance entrepreneurship with actually also like living well, which is kind of the entire purpose, or usually like some part of the inspiration or motivation to start a business, right? Because you want people to feel their best, and that like extends to you as well. So I think that's really beautiful and super like self-aware that you recognize sort of you're in sort of a really happy place right now and a really great balance. And sometimes the answer isn't always just to like push, grow, expand. Like there's sort of a season and a time for different things in life.
People assume that you want to expand and want to grow, but I don't think that's always like the right option.
Yeah.
What's been key for me is to just surround myself with a great team, to be able to have the balance of a family, my own life, and then also work. I have to delegate. I have to trust my team. So I have an amazing general manager, Ivy. She's like my right hand.
Amazing.
And I totally trust her. And then my instructors are all amazing and can hold their own. My receptionists, front of house staff is incredible. So I think surrounding yourself with a really supportive team is number one.
Yeah. And even hearing you talk about how you like individually train like every single instructor, I think that's amazing, right? Because you do like establish this level of like quality and making sure the instruction is like has some through lines, even though everybody has their own style. But I think, with that, like like you're saying, I mean, one of the downsides to massive scale is like you can't scale your own time, right? There's only so many hours in a day. So probably you would have to like make some sacrifices on that from like a quality perspective or like a consistency perspective to be able to scale, right, internationally, I would imagine.
And I'm able to take all of the instructors' classes as well.
That's so
fun. We're a really close team. It's around the corner from my house, which is a plus.
That's a huge plus.
But I take class 4 or 5 times a week.
Wow.
Because I enjoy it. But then also I'm able to touch base with the instructors, with the clients. So I'm really involved with even the day-to-day still.
That's amazing. Were you guys living in this house when you found the studio?
We had just moved into this house and I looked all across Dubai.
Okay.
And it was important for me, I think like any city, if you kind of pigeonhole yourself in one area, people feel like it's so far, but actually it's not.
Yeah.
So I saw that studios more in Marina or Palm, people living in downtown felt like it was so far.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. So we're situated in Safa, which is a bit in between Marina and downtown.
Yeah.
It's also very residential, a lot of schools. So luckily, it seems like a great location as a studio, but then it's also super great for me as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I love your location. I feel like as somebody who lives closer to downtown, I definitely have felt that. I feel like I pretty much will only go to the Marina or to the Palm if it's like a weekend because I at least know there won't really be traffic. But it's right. You're right. It's even like psychologically, there's this whole like idea in your head of how far away it is and like what a commitment it's going to be to get there and like where you're going to park, you know, in a place like the Marina and stuff like that. I feel like in Dubai, parking is like takes up so much of my headspace just figuring out how I'm going to go. Yeah.
So I think an advantage I had was from living in Dubai for 7 or 8 years before I launched the studio is I knew parking was always an issue.
Yeah.
So we have free parking in the building. We have parking around outside. The studio's on top of a grocery store.
Nice.
We now have coffee at the studio.
Yeah.
So all of these like little things that you might not initially think are important, you realize make a difference.
Yeah. And you've mentioned a couple of times like that really like what makes Barre Effect. Like, okay, yeah, there's sort of the studio. There's sort of like you train these people, but it's really like the instructors and sort of the team that you hire. Do you have any advice for anybody that might be listening around like hiring and maybe if someone's in fitness, like finding instructors, but even just more generally, like when you're building out a team, what kinds of things that you look for? What sort of is the process or the approach that you take to building out a team?
Sure. There's certain things that you can't teach or train. So I think just going with your gut, with personality and with professionalism, dedication, I feel like is really important. This makes it more challenging, of course, but I host auditions and then often the applicant is taking class. So I kind of see how they're interacting with the rest of my team and with the clients. And if I feel like they would kind of get on with the rest of us, we're a small little family, you know, and we help each other out and we support each other. So I have to make sure that we all gel. Yeah, I think I've been lucky that some of my instructors started as clients and they were coming to class nonstop. And then I'd actually approach them to see if they're interested to join the team.
Wow.
So women that are already passionate and already in the bar scene, I think are ideal.
Yeah. How frequently do you take on new instructors?
It really depends. I guess I've done about a training a year.
Okay.
I see it as it's important to have a larger team and then there's not too much pressure on anyone.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of my instructors teach at other studios as well,
right,
which I think is great. And it gives them variety with their day. They never really get burnt out. I remember teaching 15 or 18 classes a week my first few years of teaching. I was young.
Oh my God.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how can your 15th, 18th class really be the same quality? We're not robots as the first few.
Yeah.
So I try not to have any instructors teach too much just for their own energy.
Yeah.
And then also you'll see on the schedule, when everyone's here. It gets tricky in the summer, but I try to have a different instructor every day for each time slot.
Okay.
So then we have women that come 5-6 times a week at the same time. And then each day of the week, they're getting a different instructor, a different style. So it puts less pressure on the instructor as well. They come in feeling fresh. So I feel because I have so many years of instructing under my belt, I'm able to kind of treat my team how I would want to be treated.
Yeah.
So that's why having a larger team, we're 11 girls. If someone's sick, if someone wants to travel, someone wants off, we always make it work.
Yeah.
There's no pressure on anyone to not be there if they can't.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And it is such a testament to like the fact that you have been like in this position right on the other side, and like you're able to bring that just experience, I guess. It's not even just knowledge, right? Because there's really like, there's so many things, right? So all these little things that like somebody who's never taught before probably wouldn't even think about. But like, yeah, how many classes are you teaching a week? Like, how are you spacing out the different classes and the different sort of teaching styles? And how are you making sure everybody is showing up their best? I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Also at Barre Effect, we have different props. So each day of the week, when I was first launching, I was trying to decide, do I differentiate by muscle group?
Okay.
Or how can I make each day kind of stand out? So we have ankle weights, a Y-bell, which is like a kettlebell, mini bands, like booty bands, long bands. We also have sliders. We have all these different props, and that's each day of the week. You'll see that. So that also inspires the instructor to kind of get creative and use that prop.
Okay.
It also gives the clients more variety because we're always spicing things up and changing things up.
Yeah.
So I think that also, I remember going in to teach so many classes and just feeling like I wasn't inspired, or I didn't really know what to do or how to get creative. So being able to incorporate different props and kind of assign these props each day, I feel like has been helpful for the instructors as well.
And is that something that's also like so like Barre across the board will use all of these things, or is that also quite unique?
I had never used some of these props before.
Okay.
I'd used them in other classes.
Cool.
I did a bit of research. So again, Barre is such an open-ended technique. You're able to incorporate so many different things.
Yeah.
Our most recent prop is the Pilates ring,
Okay.
which you'll see in a Pilates class, probably some other Barre classes as well. And then a less obvious choice, we have the Bosu, which is a half exercise ball, which is super challenging.
It's so hard. I took that class. It was impossible. It was so good.
It's hard.
It was so good. But
It's
I
great.
remember going in there being like, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. And I was like truly dying. It was
the
amazing.
girls get so creative.
Yeah.
It's really fun to see. There's like unlimited options and possibilities.
Yeah.
So we have clients that have been coming for 3 years, almost every single day.
Okay.
Which is
wow.
incredible.
That's incredible.
But they're constantly feeling challenged and inspired. So it's cool that we can kind of keep this kind of loyalty with women.
And would you say Barre is a workout that you could do like every single day? Or what do you think is sort of like a regimen that you would recommend to somebody?
It's different for everyone. I would recommend around 4 times per week. I think it's important to listen to your body and take rest when you need, of course. I also think it's important to mix things up. I personally take yoga once a week. I have a Peloton bike at home.
Amazing.
And I use that maybe once a week. And then, like I said, I take class 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
Sometimes this doesn't go to plan. This is like my ideal week.
Yeah.
But 7 days a week would be safe because we mix things up, because it's low impact.
Yeah.
At the same time, walking into the same space anywhere 7 times a week gets a bit mind-numbing, right?
Yeah.
It's good to keep things fresh.
Right.
And things are going to be repeated, right? We're using the bar, we're using the same props. So I'd say around 4 times per week is kind of that magic number. It is a technique, it is challenging.
Yeah.
So if you come once per week, I tell clients it's better than nothing, of course. At the same time, you might feel like it's your first time every time because it is so challenging on your muscles. So to be able to build the muscular strength and endurance, and then also feel comfortable with the technique and, the different vocabulary we're using, I'd say at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because it's like your muscle memory, right? And that's what I feel like is so hard too about bar for people, especially that aren't really used to it, is like it is a very unique form of exercise, and you really get to like a different part of your muscle, I feel, than like some muscles I didn't even know existed or like have never felt before.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've been practicing bar 15 years.
Okay.
And regularly, I still am challenged every class.
Yeah.
And I'm able to get through the class most times.
Yeah.
But it's still so challenging for me. And I think also the more you do it, the better you are at the technique.
Right.
So then it becomes more effective.
Yeah.
So I just find it crazy. I took 7 a.m. this morning and I'm still burning out. I'm still finding it challenging, but I'm loving it because we are constantly mixing things up. It's never 2 classes that are the same.
Okay.
So yes, your muscles get stronger, but you never kind of plateau or get to the point where you find it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Would you say that you were kind of always into this form of like lower impact? I call it like low impact, but it like high intensity, because it's still very intense, right? From like you're burning out your muscle groups, but like kind of more low impact workouts. Is that something that's been part of your life for a while?
I was doing yoga to supplement my dancing in college.
Okay.
And then I was doing a lot of spin. I did a lot of Soul Cycle. And then when I moved here, I was doing a lot of flywheel.
Yeah.
So I've always had bar and yoga kind of as my base.
Okay.
I dabbled. I did a half Ironman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, one and done.
One and done.
So I did it with a friend. I wasn't a runner or a cyclist or a swimmer.
Okay.
And I just trained really heavily.
Amazing.
And I learned that I don't enjoy running.
Okay, there we go.
I find it to be an amazing exercise. It's amazing cardio. Personally, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I tried it and I can kind of like check it off the list. But I was running half marathons at one point.
Yeah.
But I don't really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I asked that because I was curious about this, and I'm sure everybody's unique, but I've noticed some patterns, at least among like my women friends, of like, just like as you get older and enter different phases of your life. Like for me, when I was in my early 20s and like late teens, I was like a runner. Like I would run all the time. I also did like an ultramarathon, didn't train properly, hurt my knee. And at the time, like I remember the PT was like, yeah, you have no cartilage left in your knee. Like you can't do distance running anymore. And I was devastated because I didn't know how to work out otherwise. Like, honestly, it was really all that I did. And looking back though, that was like the best thing ever because it kind of forced me into different types of exercise. And now I don't mind running a bit. Like I dabble, like I'll do like a 5K, like every couple of weeks maybe, but like it's not really my thing anymore. And I much more gravitate towards like the low impact, like Pilates or even just strength training workouts that are like slower, but I would say like, again, in some ways like more intense and definitely more of like a holistic or like a well-rounded kind of workout for your body. And then I think strength is like, I've gotten older and a bit more mature, you recognize like the importance of building strength, like for your actual health, right? Not just like, okay, cardio, but I've definitely noticed that evolution within myself, and I was curious if that resonated at all.
I'm the same. I feel that just being a bit more well-rounded is really important. I mean, doing too much of anything isn't great. And the importance of stretching and yoga, I feel like as well, just not doing too much of anything, balancing things out. I was doing some more HIIT type classes, and I was just feeling that it wasn't really working for my body. Mm-hmm. So I've definitely started to lean more towards exclusively bar and yoga and the occasional spin. Yeah,
I think the nice thing about bar too is that, it's like something that really works for you no matter where you're at in your cycle, like because it's one of these workouts that's like you can modify and like it can be very intense, or you can sort of like take it a bit more easy. And so I think it's one of these things where you don't have to think too much about it. Whereas like for me with spin, for example, like I love a spin class, like when I'm like peak ovulation, like I'm like really super energetic, but sometimes, at different points in time, it can be like quite draining. Like it can actually really like suck a lot of my energy out of me if I go sort of at the wrong time. So I think that's definitely part of it as well.
You can pace yourself with barre. You can go in there and, of course, give it your all, but that kind of depends on what that means for you at that day.
Yeah.
And the beauty of barre is everything can be modified. So we have a lot of women that are pregnant or have just given birth.
Yeah.
We have women that are a bit older or coming back from injury. Every exercise, every prop can be modified, which is amazing. You don't feel like you have to kind of dumb down a class or you can't actually be involved.
Yeah.
I did barre through all 3 of my pregnancies.
Amazing.
And I feel like that really helped to support my body and to support the birth and recovery after. So barre, you can still get an amazing workout even if you're pregnant or, there's certain exercises you can't do. Barre initially was created to be physio for injured dancers.
Oh.
So I have a lot of clients that come into me saying, I have this knee injury or this hip injury. And then we always make sure that we speak with the client before class to understand what their physio or doctor has told them they can and can't do.
Okay.
We discuss with them how to modify it. And then often after class, they come up to me and say, wow, these are actually some of my physio exercises. I was given this band to use, or I was told to do these hip flexions. So they're actually exercises that they've been told to do to strengthen their injury.
Yeah.
Which I find amazing.
It is amazing. That makes complete sense to me because that's like exactly what happened to me when I had the knee thing. And they were like having me do like the squat holds and like the clams and everything. And then you really start to realize like how even if you're like in shape in one way, right? Like you might be running a lot, but like your muscles are actually not there to support sort of the activity. So I think something like barre is such a beautiful supplement to that. I'm so glad you brought up sort of like pre-postnatal stuff because I feel like that's such a big topic as well. And I feel like for a lot of women, I have some friends, for example, that like before pregnancy, they're not really in maybe like a fitness routine. And so they're sort of like, maybe they're trying to start something kind of in preparation to kind of get ready to have the baby and then recover from the baby. Like, do you have any specific advice or thoughts around, somebody who knows they want to like have kids, hopefully one day, and want to like be pregnant? Like what's sort of the best way to prepare your body for that monumental task?
We say to not start anything new when you become pregnant, just so that you feel comfortable with the technique and how to modify things. So we often have clients that are told they should exercise and they're pregnant. Of course, it's fine. And we just make sure that things are like very safe for them. But it's better to just kind of continue something that you've already been doing. So if you're not in a fitness routine, regardless of becoming pregnant, you should try to establish one anyway.
Yeah.
You shouldn't
totally
wait until you kind of need it.
Yeah.
I know, but this is with everything, with eating well and taking care of yourself. You want to make sure that you're doing this regardless, not just because something has happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's just important always to be at your optimal health regarding your nutrition and your fitness. Of course, you just have to make sure that your doctor is aware of your fitness routine and that you have approval to exercise. But we actually have, specific props to make things more comfortable as you're becoming more pregnant. And we have ways of modifying every exercise while you're pregnant. So, as long as you have the clear from the doctor, I'd say that if you're not working out now or eating well now, you should start it even before you get pregnant, right? So just to make sure you're prepared.
Yeah.
But easier said than done, of course. I mean, it's better to start sometime. You just got to get into that first class.
Yeah. But I think it's helpful though, because I think for people, who maybe like, it's not even like they're planning it now, but they know that at some point that's something that they want to do. It's helpful to know that like, it is a lot more difficult to start something new when you're already pregnant for the reasons that you outlined. And so it's good to kind of establish your routine even like years in advance of like wanting to do something like that, and like your body's obviously going through a tremendous change. And so there's things that you can do, very proactively. I think that's one thing. It's a bit off topic, but I think just in general, when it comes to women's health, specifically around like fertility and pregnancy, what I've noticed is there tends to be a very reactionary approach. So it's almost like nobody really wants to even give you like input or advice on ways you can prepare your body until you're already trying. And I think it's very interesting that with like this specific thing, we kind of take that approach. But I think just like any aspect of health or just like life in general, like if you know you want something even in the future, like there's no time like the present, to like get sort of some changes underway or start to sort of like adjust your lifestyle to a way that's going to, if it's something that that you want in the future. So I think that's really helpful. Before we wrap, I want to do like a quick kind of lightning round. I usually ask every guest a couple of questions just so we have something for the audience to kind of leave from the episode with. And the first one is, what is one habit or product that has significantly improved your life in the last year?
I have started taking electrolytes, so Humantra.
Nice.
I've one, sometimes twice a day. I guess it's been about a year now. I love coffee. I could drink coffee all day long, but by the third, fourth cup of coffee, I can just feel it in my gut and I get a bit of a headache and I actually feel like it gives a bit of a reverse effect. I feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
So I've tried to kind of swap out some of the coffee for the electrolytes.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's so important with living in such a warm climate. I'm always on the go to the studio to pick up my kids, in and out of the car, teaching and exercising every day. I think it's really important that we're not just drinking water, but also kind of refueling and replenishing these like lost minerals.
Yeah.
So I've found it really helpful.
I love that. I need to definitely take more electrolytes. I definitely resonate. I'm also a huge coffee addict. And this is one example of something where like, okay, I actually know I want to have my own kids at some point, God willing. And I'm like, how do I reduce my caffeine intake now so that I can literally survive being pregnant because it's tough. One thing, and by the time this episode airs, her episode will already have gone live, but Stacy from New Mind, she has like an amazing chaga product. That's something I've also tried to incorporate. I'm actually like, I have my iced chaga over there instead of coffee. So I'm also trying to like, for the second or third or fourth cup, like trying to kind of wean off. But it's easier said than done. I will definitely try the electrolytes. I think that's a great one.
It's been really helpful.
Yeah, amazing. And another question that I have for you, for sort of the audience, is if there's anybody out there that's sort of an aspiring entrepreneur, wants to start their own business, what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody interested in going out and starting their own thing?
I would say to surround yourself with like-minded and a supportive team. You can't do it on your own. Launching your own business. And I think just to make sure that you are hiring and surrounding yourself with people that you respect and are kind of on the same page is really important. Just to be able to bounce ideas around, but also you can't do everything on your own.
Yeah.
And to be able to have balance in life, you don't want to be doing everything.
Right.
Right. So
Exactly.
It makes things more fun when you're with other people and you enjoy it. So also I feel you just have to really follow your gut. And if it's something that you're passionate about with anything and you're going into it wholeheartedly and you really believe in it, then everything always works out.
Who was your first hire at Barre Effect?
So my general manager, Ivy,
Amazing.
I actually trained her 10 years ago.
Wow.
And then she was actually my boss at one point at one studio. And then when I launched knowing that she would be by my side.
Incredible.
So, and she's one of my best friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So I think it's also like, I'm lucky, of course, but you can't do anything on your own. You need to make sure you have like a supportive team and, backing with everything.
Yeah.
So
100%. Amazing. Well, thank you, Nora. Where can people find you? Where can people find Barre Effect?
So Barre Effect is on Al Wasl Road in Al Safa, right above Park and Shop. Our website, barreeffectdxb.com. Also on Instagram, barreeffectdxb. And you'll see me popping up on our grid as well.
Amazing. And I will put all of the socials in the show notes so people can find you. Thank you so much, Nora.
Thank you for having me.